Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith and you're watching another episode of Overbooked here on the channel. This is the series where I talk about every single book on my shelves because for a long time I've been in competition with someone. I don't know who they are or what the competition is, but I just am. Today we are talking about Erin Morgenstern's The Night Circus. Some quick disclaimers before we start. I bought this book myself. I'll tell you the story of it in just a moment, but regardless of where books come from, nobody's paying me to talk about books and all opinions are my own. I'm also going to keep this as spoiler-free as humanly possible, so if you do want to go in knowing absolutely nothing, click away now. I'll also link the story graph below in case you want to check out any content warnings. I will also say that I do have another video where I talk about this book, but I feel like that was more of a review of The Starless Sea than it was of The Night Circus. That being said, I'll link that. It's a bit of an old video now, but in case you want to go watch the two in comparison, I'm not going to do a Starless Sea review because I think I said everything I wanted to say in that video, but I didn't have like a dedicated Night Circus video, which felt bad because it's one of my favourite books. I said I would tell you the story of where the book went, so I'm going to edit this in earlier. Thank you, Judith. I actually bought this book from a friend who, when they were working in a bookshop in Oxford, I won't say who the friend is or where they were in case you end up finding information about them. I don't know. The internet is a difficult place. But they were working there and they were giving advice on books, like kind of like a bibliotherapist, I think is what they called it. And it was really, really fun, and went and just had a chat and then recommended me this book. And I'm fairly sure this person had just wanted to recommend me this book for a while, but I picked it up and I did indeed read it over the next day, I think. And now, since then, it has been very well thumbed through. It's got like yellow pages now with various, what I really hope is hair dye on them. It's just a very well-loved paperback at this point. The cover is creased and it's just, I've loved this for a very long time. Have debated buying special editions many a time, have had to hold myself back because I already own it and I do not need another. So yes, that is the story of where this slightly worn paperback has travelled with me since 2015 or so, I would have said. This is a 2011 fantasy novel, though you do often find it in the not fantasy section. It often makes its way into the general fiction area of the bookshelves in bookshops, so have a scout around if you can't find it. They will have a copy. Every bookshop will have a copy of this. It's a very, very popular book. Erin Morgenstern wrote this and then basically took a whole bunch of time off and then wrote The Starless Sea, so not an author that you can read heaps and heaps of stuff unless she's writing very prolifically under a pen name. I don't know. But yeah, I think that added to some of the mystique around the book, that it just sort of existed in its own little world. And similarly, even on her own website, Erin Morgenstern doesn't have a huge amount of information about herself other than that she originally studied theatre, which I think makes a lot of sense where this book is concerned. I assume she's just enjoying all the royalties from the various copies of this book that have sold. This book is very hard to explain, to the point where they haven't actually really bothered to write a blurb for it. They're just going for, there's some mystery here, let me try and intrigue you with my mysterious writing. But essentially, we have a circus setting where we have two characters who are engaged in a contest and they don't really know what they're in a contest for or about, and it's a time-jumpy fantasy circus mystery magic book that has that particular kind of magic where it's not clear always how much of everything is magical and what is real. I personally find I really like that style, but I know some people really don't. So I'm thinking similar to, what's it called? The Time Watchmaker of Filigree Street, that kind of vibe, if you're thinking about this. I'll come on to comparisons later. My biggest pro for this book, my biggest reason I think people should read it, or my first one I suppose I should say, is that I think the writing is absolutely gorgeous. I know that for some people this writing style really doesn't gel with them, and that's absolutely fine. No judgment, I said the same thing in my Starless Sea review, but for me personally, this just hammers home such beautiful sentences, such beautiful things, and all of that wraps up together in a wonderful bow, which I'll come on to when I've talked more about the other things I like. But I really like this writing. I think for some people it is a little bit too flowery, but when I'm in the mood for something flowery, I really like this, and I think part of the reason it works is that it's very, very short chapters and a lot of jumping about both in place and time and between different characters, so it doesn't feel like you get totally bogged down. It's just like a chapter of a beautiful piece of writing and then another chapter of a beautiful piece of writing and then maybe an interlude of sorts. Some books I find that very irritating. I don't want to jump about. I want to stay with one character. This case, it just works wonderfully well. If you like this style of writing, it's going to be a great book for you, and I think actually as a, not a selling point, but as a good point for the book, it will be very easy to know if this isn't a kind of writing style that you enjoy. Read a couple of chapters, read a sample, you'll know if you like this or not. My big thing with Erin Morgenstern's writing, and it was the same in The Starless Sea, I'm going to keep making that comparison just because I know I've talked about it before, but Erin Morgenstern writes atmosphere like no other person. I don't know anyone else who crafts a world in which there are so many events and places and people I would like to meet and places I would like to go and things I would like to do and that I just know can never exist. And I've likened it before to, if anyone ever watched the British teen series skins. It really feels that way to me of, these are totally unreal depictions of parties. Parties are not like this. Places are not like this. People's houses are not like this. And yet it's created in such a believable way that it feels like you could go there. If someone would just build it, you could go. And the fact that it's all just out of reach, I think makes the book feel so much more powerful. But yes, atmosphere. One of the reasons that works so well is that the creation of atmosphere is in fact a part of the story and an important part of the setting. So it doesn't feel overdone because it's meant to be overdone, if that makes sense. We are creating this spectacle of the circus. It makes sense that it's going to be super duper atmospheric and that we're going to get really into detail about the smells and the sights and sounds and so such. And these are characters who care about spectacle and who care about atmosphere. And we've learned that throughout the book, and I just found that really, really interesting that that's built in. And I think that's part of the reason it doesn't work as well in Starless Sea, is because we don't have that reason for atmosphere to be such a focus. I also think that there are lots of likeable characters in this. I have a lot of feelings about some of the characters in this that just hit very hard that I can't get into because it will spoil things for you. But it's almost like a series of tableaus in some ways, where we get to meet various characters at different times, and everything's a little bit jumbled up, so you don't always know what's coming. What you've already seen that you might not know you've seen yet. It's a lot of swirly, everything's interlinked kind of feeling. But within that we have these very, very lovable characters. Our main characters are just delightful. I love Celia and Marco. I think they are just wonderful. Celia is my favourite by far. I think Marco I could take or leave, but I just think that everything about them is so interesting, and their background and their history and what they care about and the choices that they make within this world are fascinating, and we don't actually get a huge amount of detail about their lives from them. It's all done kind of through what they're doing and their work and their reaction to various different circumstances, and it's all just a really interesting character study in a lot of ways. I wouldn't describe it as a character-driven book. I think it is more circumstance-driven or plot-driven or atmosphere-driven even, but these characters really anchor the story in, and you do care about them, and you kind of need to care about them for the plot to work. I talked a bit about how it's kind of convoluted and a bit swirly-whirly and everything gets mixed up and you find out things that you realise you already knew and so such. I actually think it works very well. I think it's the right amount of mystery. I think it's a really fine line to walk, and a step more to the left might have made it a bit wanky, and a step to the right it would have all been just really obvious. I think that this book manages to keep you captivated, to have those realisations where you just go, oh my heart, I should have realised that this was coming, and that kind of thing, while not feeling like it's just hiding things for you for the sake of hiding them. I've read a fair few mysterious novels in my time that have done either one of those things, and this is one that really nicely walks that line. I have a distinct memory of reading this book while revising for a Latin exam, because I'm just that person, and I had to force myself to read one chapter and then translate one sentence, and then I could read a chapter again. I had to, because I just wanted to keep reading. This is the kind of book where I will stay up till 2 a.m. to finish it if I start it. So I don't reread it very often, but it's just so fantastic. It just carries you through the story in such a wonderful way, and it is so rereadable because of all those moments of realisation. It's beautiful. It's really well crafted as a book. All that being said, there are some people who don't get on with this book, and I completely understand why. It is a fraction Marmite-y. Maybe Marmite is the wrong word. I don't think it's like a 50-50 split. I know more people who like this than who didn't like it, but if you don't enjoy this, if you didn't enjoy this, I'm not saying like, therefore you are wrong and incorrect and terrible, because I do think there are some things you have to be on board with in this book. The slightly convoluted plotline, the flowing prose, the flowery prose, maybe, if you want to word it that way, and you have to be on board for the romance, which I know not everyone is. I personally really like the romance in this. I think it's very, sweet and intense, and sometimes you just want that. Sometimes that's what you need. Comparisons for this book are hard, because there are a lot of circus books out there, and there are a lot of books that have tried to do the Night Circus thing, and the Night Circus is used as a comparison for a lot of books. I already mentioned The Watchmaker of Filigree Street. I think that has similar essence to it that I certainly found. I think Laini Taylor's Strange the Dreamer has a lot of similar flowing prose in a lot of ways, and has a lot of emotional devastation in it in a way that Night Circus definitely did for me. I've talked previously about The Daughter of the Burning City, which is one of my favourite circus setting books that is not the same kind of circus as this, but it's got elements to it. I enjoyed that. But no book has really captured this for me. I find this really, really hard to compare to other things, because nothing has really lived up to it for me anyway. That also means that when a book compares itself to the Night Circus, I am instantly sceptical. I do not believe you. There is no way. Do you just mean it has a tent in it? Maybe it just has a tent. So if you have any recommendations that you do think are similar, or that you felt really evoked the same feelings in you, please do let me know down in the comments below. You can also let me know, have you read this? Do you have plans to? Is The Night Circus one of your favourites? Did you try it and not enjoy it? I'd be really interested to know what you didn't like about it, if that was something you didn't like, or conversely, what you really loved. Did you also read The Starless Sea? Let me know all of these things down in the comments below. While you're there commenting, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. It makes me feel loved and appreciated. You can also follow me on social media. Come hang out on Discord, where we have a wonderful time talking about books. Those are all linked below, as is my Patreon, where my patrons kindly support the channel and make videos like this possible and get early access to exclusive content and such. So thank you so much to them. If you would like to join their number, please do click the link below. Thank you so much for watching. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one.
There's gonna be some bloopers now.
But what's the word for unreachability?